It's a pleasure to be your instructor. Let's go over the course syllabus. Okay. So, office hours will be posted sometime next week. I'm available for online and also in person meetings. So, your text is Introduction to Probability and Statistics by Milton and Arnold. Okay. Um, Email is going to probably be the primary form of correspondence. And the number one thing that I want to communicate when you're emailing with me is just take a screenshot of the question that your email is concerning. It really helps clarify things. Okay. You can be kind of vague about what you tried about the possible solution. For instance, maybe you're just getting started and not sure how to solve the problem. You can just type out what you think you should do. That would be perfectly reasonable. Okay. Um, be sure to include your course uh, number in the email, ideally the subject line, as sometimes that's forgotten and I'm not able to locate you as a student and to help you and assist you with your issue. Okay. Um, Your name is also a very useful piece of information, so if it's just anywhere in the email, that's sufficient, or if it is your email itself, usually that works. Okay. In terms of course coverage for the textbook, um, the primary chapters that we'll be covering are these. There'll be some topics that are a little bit more outside of the book. Um, so that is supplemented with the recorded lectures. Okay. Okay. Um, so in terms of calculators, you will need to use some statistical software for your project. Okay. It could be Excel, it could be Python, it could be a variety of different languages. For your tests, you will only have online calculators to links that are provided. Okay. Um, and a scientific calculator. So you will not have these resources for um, your exams. Okay. In terms of grading composition, 20% goes to homework that's worth more than a single exam. You have a project that's worth 10%. Okay. And then you have a final exam worth 15%. Notice that your exams, they are worth 15% each, and there are three of them. Okay, these three exams are not comprehensive, but your final exam is. Okay. We will be doing online proctoring for your exams, and there will be a review for each exam, but there will be no review provided for the final exam. Okay, all your exams are open book. Okay. Now, the last thing about this class is that, you know, if you need to submit homework late, you can still get credit, and you will get credit with a penalty of 5% today per day. So moral of the story is the sooner you submit your uh, assignment, the better. Okay. Now there'll be a project that you'll be asked to analyze for this course, and we'll go over that in this link. Okay. In terms of your final grades, how they're calculated uh, according to this scale. And please note if, for instance, you get a 79.7, that is still a C minus. Okay. Okay. Let's discuss your final project submission. So there'll be a couple of checkpoints along the way. So this is a data set of your choosing. Okay. I would encourage you to complete the project in a group if you feel comfortable doing that. I find generally it helps improve it. Smaller groups are generally better. Okay. Um, So because you get to choose your data set, um, it is really important that you choose a suitable data set. So I've gotten submissions where people want to win uh, win prizes and become famous, and that's not in the scope of this class. So make sure that your data set is suitable. Um, Here are some resources where you can choose data sets to analyze, okay? And you will need, for your software, you'll need to use one of these three forms generally, okay? For your submission, I'd like a 1 to 2 page technical paper. You can submit a Python notebook. I expect that's what most of you will do. It has to meet these components, okay? And it is extremely important to meet that component. Okay, that's what this course will be relevant to. Okay, now I want to provide a guide for the types of analysis that you can think about in this class, and it depends entirely on what type of variables you're dealing with. So is your input variable x categorical? Okay, or does it have at least one numerical uh, feature? Okay. And what about your response? Is it categorical or is it numerical? And so this is kind of a guide to the type of statistical analysis you could do. Okay. Um, Here is your rubric for this final project. And one last thing that I want to mention is that generally project submissions focus on inferential statistics, which I encourage you to do. That is the primary focus of this course, or a predictive model. And that's what everyone gets caught up in. And either is suitable. I would encourage, you know, not to overlook the inferential, but if predictive is truly your passion, go for it. Okay. Let's get reoriented to this course. So, your weekly expectations are in this module. So in this first week, you have a calculus review, you have a syllabus quiz, and you have a data collection quiz. 3 quizzes. So you got a lot going on this first week. The PowerPoint slides corresponding to this data collection are right here. In the second week, things kind of simmer down a little bit. You have 2 quizzes, counting and probability, and graphs probability and hypothesis testing. In week 3, you have 3 assignments. You have 2 quizzes, a probability rules quiz, a hypothesis testing and errors quiz. This one is smaller. And then you have a discussion, and your discussion is here. I want you to think about Bayes' rules. Okay. Um, in week 4, I want you to think about you're going to have a quiz on these probability distributions, and you're going to have a second quiz, so just 2 quizzes. This one is not enabled. Okay, then in week 5, you have your first exam. You have your practice exam. You can take that as many times as you want, so everyone gets 100%. You have your actual exam, which is proctored, and you can only take it once. So that usually means, not everyone gets 100 on that exam because, you don't get to take it as many times as you want. And that's the general outline of this course. Okay, 2 quizzes, 2 or 3 quizzes, and or discussion item. Okay, and that's the general flow. Okay, now there's something about um, these quizzes that I want to point out, and let me go back here and view this as a student. Um, so when you take a quiz, there are generally 2 types of questions. Uh, a single selection, like a true false or a multiple choice, then a multiple selection quiz. So this is a multiple answer one, and it asks you to select all that apply. Okay, so I'm going to select those two. Okay. And I'm going to submit this. Okay. So I just want to show you what happens in these multiple selections. So notice I got 0 points on this first question, but I got an answer correct. Why didn't I get any points? Well, I selected an incorrect answer. And when I select an incorrect answer, it's worth negative points. Okay. So if you have a multiple selection and you select an incorrect answer and a correct answer, you can wind up with 0 points here. Okay. Now notice again, I have 0 points here. I selected an incorrect answer and a correct answer. In this third one, I selected 2 correct answers and 1 incorrect answer. And so I only got 1.6 points out of 5, even though I got both correct answers. And that's because I selected an incorrect answer. So when you are taking a quiz or an exam and you have a multiple selection, you need to be careful about selecting incorrect answers as well. Okay, so I just wanted to say it's a pleasure to be your instructor for Math 3410. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'm looking forward to having you in my course. Thank you.